brother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just the
Duo.
Of feathery brethren, weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Both and Zach kicking it cooler than
two.
When still Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Both and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping.
We are going to rip out the hearts of other podcasts. We are going to bite off their eyeballs. We're going to start every segment watching the scene from The Last of the Mohicans where the guy takes a bite out of the other guy's heart. We may not be good, but we're going to be nasty. We're going to reflect the blue-collar nature of this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Friday morning. Friday is Saturday. Saturday is Sunday, because on Saturday night, the Eagles will be taking on the New York Giants in the divisional round of the playoffs at Lincoln Financial Field. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn here. Marissa, how are you?
I am great. I'm excited for this weekend. Big games ahead. I can't wait to play another round of Swooper. Got 3 points at stake. It's going to be a good show. And it's a morning pod. Zach popped on this morning, like huge pep in his step. He was ready to go. So I'm excited what we have in store today.
Zach,
how are you guys?
A big week for you. As Marissa said, we get a morning pod for you, coming off a banger of a story on Josh Sweat. And I think the question that everybody is wondering is, we heard Nick Sirianni mention again this week that, he had been in touch with Tony Dungy about the idea of like, how do you hold on to big leads? And I'm just curious, are you the one who put him in touch with Tony Dungy, given your shared Chick-fil-A fandom?
Oh, geez.
So big game, Eagles Giants this weekend, and appreciate the nice words you said about the Josh Sweat story. I would reciprocate that. I loved your Isaac Seumalo story today. I had the good fortune of reading it ahead of time, and I conveyed to you certain lines in that story that I thought were particularly well done. So
help me find an ending.
Hello to Rachel.
Rachel, hello.
Yeah. And overall, just really eager for this game on Saturday. Some fascinating storylines here, and it's one of these games now where I'm just ready for the game to come. Right, like we've been waiting 2 weeks. We had the bye week. We've had extended time to process it now, and just curious to see what happens in Eagles Giants.
And is it true that at the Giants facility, you've been there, you've covered that
many
team.
times, yes.
Classy organization. Is it true that they have like a litter box there for the players on the team who identify as cats?
I'm not familiar with what you're asking. I can't answer that question. It is a beautiful facility, and it was a nice working environment, great indoor practice facility there too. And had a very nice 2 years, really a season and a half covering the Giants, but have been on the Eagles beat now for 11 seasons. So I don't really remember much about the litter boxes at the facility.
Okay.
I recall there was a little courtyard outside where Mike Garofalo and I used to do our stand-ups back when we did web videos every day. So I don't recall a litter box around there though.
Okay.
I don't know what he's talking about either, Zach. The chat apparently is like blown away by this comment from Bo.
Better that you don't. Yeah.
Not sure.
So
I might have to delete this part.
So some behind the scenes here is that the interface that we use, I don't know if I would say the interface, whatever the correct term is, no longer provides me access to see the comments on the right-hand panel. So I
made some requests and they obliged.
Yeah. So I'm focused on the two of you. I can't see what is being said in the comment section. But I hope everyone in the comment section reads Bo's Isaac story, because honestly, for 7 years, Isaac's one of these guys who's been a part of the team, but he hasn't really been like profiled in this way. And I thought you did a good job explaining someone who I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth here, but probably doesn't want to be explained. So you did a really good job with that.
It was funny. I mean, I told you briefly on the story, I'd said I went up to Isaac and was like, I'm doing a story on you. I'd already talked to his parents. I talked to Jeff Stoutland. I was like, can we talk for a few minutes? He's like, like, I don't want to bother you. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
He's like, unfortunately, that's all you guys do. Like, even lighter than that, like barely audible. And so that was the lead, basically.
I told Bo the story. I'll share it with the audience here. Is that there was a game this year when the Eagles had a huge rushing performance while wearing the Stoutland University shirts in that game, and I kind of tied those things together, and I wanted to talk to every player on the offensive line about what Stoutland University means to them and the strength of that group. And I go up and ask Isaac to talk, and he's just like, no. But it happened in front of all the other offensive linemen, so it's like, to use this comparison, it would be like if you got turned down by a girl, like in front of everyone at the school. What do you do there? Do you just you just kind of walk back and
you got to hit the phone lines again that night, Zach. You got to call them all up. You know their numbers. You got to do damage control.
Yeah, so but that's Isaac. Doesn't necessarily on an offensive line with probably the highest profile offensive line in the league, considering they made a Christmas album. They have a center who has a podcast like Bo wrote about. Jordan Mailata was on The Masked Singer. He shuns any type of attention. So that I'm glad you wrote that story.
Well, similarly, Zach, I can say that I said to you the Josh Sweat story. He's been on the team for 5 years, and I finally feel like I know him. You did a wonderful job with that story.
I appreciate.
I would say one of my favorites. If we did a Zach Berman story draft, that might be my number one pick.
Thank you. I'm glad. I appreciate those nice words coming from you, and I thought you were going to sell that a little more.
Well, I wasn't going to cut you off, but I understand the reference. Okay. Yesterday at the press conference, Zach said that to Martin Frank, and I was goading him as to why it was that Martin Frank's opinion means more than anyone else.
And my answer is that when another reporter compliments your story, it's particularly meaningful because it's like if an offensive lineman compliments an offensive lineman, they know what goes into playing the position more than just somebody else. So
which is a good reminder to the listeners and the subscribers. You don't need to tell Zach that you like a story because your opinion doesn't matter to him.
That's not at all what it means. But with Josh Sweat, so I will just say this. He's a lot of his teammates. Oh, thank you, Tyler. A lot of his teammates don't even know this about him, in that he keeps to himself often, or he keeps his interest to himself. So he builds computers. He's been doing this now for a decade. He's built over 20 of them. I have 2 of his computers in the story, and it's frankly a story I've been wanting to write for the past few years, but between COVID and not being in the locker room and trying to speak to Josh about having the opportunity to do this.
You've had this one circled for a long time.
Yeah. So I was glad I was able to write it. And I think it also kind of revealed some of the health related issues that he has had, that, when you hear like career threatening injury and life threatening procedure, or, a life saving procedure, I think this hopefully illuminated what he's had to go through with his body as well.
All right. Well, you can read those stories on The Athletic. That's enough Mutual Appreciation Society nonsense. Let's get to the task at hand. Before we do that, reminder that we've got Swooper coming up, so keep your suggestions rolling in the chat. I think we might have a surprise appearance for that part of the show. But before we get into this full-on breakdown, the quail of the tape of the Giants matchup, we got to do what we got to do. We got to send it over to the Stone Cold newsman, Zach Berman, for the latest on what has happened at the NovaCare complex this week.
The Eagles were back at practice this week, as we discussed on our previous podcast, and Lane Johnson made it through the week healthy. He is not on the final status report in terms of injuries. He is going to play on Sunday or Saturday against the New York Giants. That is a big development for the Eagles. It was expected, but he had to get through the week, of course, and he did that well. The only player who you will not see who's declared out going into the game is Avonte Maddox. Avonte Maddox has that toe injury, did not practice this week. He will not play against the Giants. We'll see what happens if the Eagles win for the NFC Championship game. Otherwise, a relatively slow news week, which is probably good news for the Eagles. They made a few minor transactions. Kennedy Brooks comes to the roster on a reserve.
Brooks sneak it into the
on
A block
on a reserve futures deal. But it was a very, I would say, meat and potatoes week for the Eagles. There weren't these major storylines. It certainly seemed all week that Lane Johnson was going to play. He addressed that last week. Jalen Hurts, he's back. He's fine. He's going to play. The only question, and we'll get to this, is whether it's the full Jalen Hurts experience. But there aren't really questions about his health. A lot of the topics at the Novacare Complex this week have been playing a team a third time, the messaging, things of that nature. But this is, like I said, a meat and potatoes week, and it's one of these countdown the game time weeks. We want to see what happens in this game, and then the storylines would reset next week one way or another. Back to you in the studio, Bo.
Thanks, Zach. Kennedy Brooks, what's the scoop on him? What kind of player is he? Where does he fit in long-term for the Eagles in their 1-year plan, 2-year plan, 5-year plan down the road?
What kind of play? Well, if you watch the preseason, you remember what kind of player Kennedy Brooks is. He's a decent running back, productive career at Oklahoma. Has bounced on and off the practice squad this year. Has been an enjoyable guy to speak to when I've had the chance to do so. He's part of the 2019 Oklahoma Sooners in the locker room, of which there are a few. Trey Sermon, Grant Calcaterra, Tyrese Robinson. Who else am I missing? And obviously Jalen Hurts. That's your 30 seconds on Kennedy Brooks. Back to you we already went back to you. We're in the studio.
We're still here, buddy.
Yes. Okay.
Marissa, how's Michael doing? Should we bring him on to break down the offensive line matchups?
I mean,
if we get to the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, I think he'd be into that. I think he's listening to this right now. So yeah. Oh, he would love that. He would definitely do his homework. He would come with all.
That would be fantastic.
Well,
yeah. We gotta if the Eagles win this game, we go to Daily Pods next week.
Okay.
Wait, I was on mute there for a second. Daily Pods.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually a playoff tradition. We backed off this week.
Well, it's been a playoff tradition with you and Sheil in the past.
Michael said he would love to.
Yeah, baby.
PB podcast has evolved.
Now I'm actually rooting for the Eagles. There goes my objectivity.
The podcast has evolved since then. Marissa, we have a producer here who does a lot of podcasts during the week. You have
I'm up for whatever you guys want to do.
You have a different co-host. You have a different family situation than you had then. I mean, a lot's changed since 2017 and 2018. Okay.
Starting Tuesday, you get Monday off.
But I have a list of stories that I want to write next week if they win. And I need to make sure that, the Athletics getting our full treatment as well. Like
this
the
podcast is under the Athletic umbrella.
No, that the written content. But yes, okay. We'll make it work. Maybe they can be like 30-minute.
They don't have to be. Yeah, they don't have to be 90 minutes.
Yeah, we don't have to deviate.
You can take one off. It'll just be me, Michael, and Marissa. That's fine.
No, if Michael's on, I want to be on. But we don't have to deviate to topics that are unexpected. I need to say we have some really nice listeners who have private messaged me with strategies to deal with you when you bring stuff up like that. And
like what? Like saying that we should do more work?
What's that?
Or when I'm just giving you guff?
Yeah, when you're instigating or antagonizing and
I don't think saying that we're doing daily pods is antagonizing.
No. I was saying in those podcasts if the topics went astray.
I see.
Yes. Yeah. yeah, we don't need to do that. We can focus. If we focus on either the Niners or the Cowboys, then yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. And it is decided. All right, Zach. Let's talk about this game. And it does feel like we've only had one podcast this week, but I feel like I don't know what else there is to say about this matchup, because these teams have played before. However, as we talked about, this is a different Giants team than the Eagles saw in Week 14. You throw Week 18 out of the window. Eagles were playing a different, very vanilla game plan. Giants were playing a bunch of backups. But like, we know this team, we know the personnel. In Week 14 they were missing a bunch of guys. To be fair, Leonard Williams didn't play, Adoree Jackson didn't play, Xavier McKinney didn't play, Saquon Barkley was banged up. But the longer this week has gone on, and maybe this is dangerous, the more I feel like I think the Eagles are going to roll in this game.
Okay. And what do you mean by roll? Like, are you talking just covering the spread, or are you talking like Week 14 roll?
No, not Week 14 roll. I think
Okay.
I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns, or it's going to be,
Okay.
or it's going to be a game that is, within that range of 2 touchdowns for most of the game. Barring turnovers, which could certainly pop up, I don't expect the Giants defense to be effective against the Eagles offense. Now, that is presuming that the Eagles have their full complement of quarterback runs, which I think we expect. The Giants' middle of the field is so bad. The trick that they've gone to the past few weeks of, playing 7 defensive backs, is the kind of thing that is not going to work against the Eagles, because they would just run it down their throats if that was the case. I don't think that they have, even if they can figure out how to stop A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith on the outside, they're the second worst team in the league against tight ends. I expect a big game from Dallas Goedert. Unless Jalen Hurts totally turns into a pumpkin, which he did in that Week 18 game, like that interception he threw in the end zone was one of the worst throws he's made all year. Unless he's like that, I don't see them stopping them on defense. Now, I think the Giants' offense is pretty good, and they can move the ball. 10th over the course of the season in offensive DVOA. Since Week 14, they're 4th in offensive DVOA. That's like a 3-game sample, so it's very small. And one of those games was against the terrible. Well, I guess 2 of those games were against the terrible Vikings defense. But this Eagles defense seems like designed to stop the Giants offense, because they can line up one-on-one on the outside. They can get after Daniel Jones, who faced the 2nd highest pressure rate in the league with their 4-man pass rush. The one part of this matchup that doesn't stack up in their favor is the scrambling ability of Daniel Jones and the quarterback run game aspect. But I imagine that with 2 weeks to prepare, they'll have something in mind for that. This is a very small sample size, but the Nick Sirianni's Eagles are 4-0 when they have a long time to prepare. It's going to take something wild in this game for them to lose, in my mind.
I think you raised some good points there. And what I would add to that is I hope this isn't a straw man argument here, but I have been reading this narrative that, like, the Giants are playing really well and they're catching the Eagles at the right time because the Eagles struggle late in the year. Have you seen this?
Yeah, this idea that the Eagles have really come down over the past month. Well, they didn't have their quarterback for 2 weeks, and then they were playing a game just to get him not hit.
Well, but even more, the Giants started the season 6-1, and then they collapsed. Their wins since then are Houston, Indianapolis, and Washington. They played well in a playoff game against Minnesota, but this idea that they're this hot team because they played Minnesota tough on Christmas Eve, then they rolled against Indianapolis, and then they kept it close against the Eagles with their backups. I don't think that I think that's giving the Giants a little too much credit that they're this hot team that you don't want to see right now, because I have been hearing that, and I get like last week's win, legitimate credit, right? They went into Minnesota. They played well. They probably played one of their better games of the season. Daniel Jones, 300
It's the
yards.
best game of his career.
Yeah, I think it was all, and he's had 300-yard games this year. 2 of them have come against the Vikings. So, and that goes to your point that some of it might have been matchup oriented. When he played against the Eagles in Week 14 in a game when they fell behind early and they needed to pass the ball, Jones had 169 passing yards, right? So I don't want to put too much on that Week 14 game because the Giants were missing some key parts, as we discussed in the previous show. But I do remember the 3 of us talking. We were at the hotel rooms, I should say, in East Rutherford. It was snowing, and we were just like, wow, the Eagles are so much better than the Giants in that game. And I get every game's different. I get the playoffs are different. I don't think the Eagles are going to roll the way you did, just because I think the Giants are going to do things to keep this game close, right? They're going to try to limit possessions. They're going to stick to a formula that worked for them earlier this year. They're going to try to make it a fourth quarter game, and then things can happen in the fourth quarter. But I agree. I think the Eagles are the superior team. I think the Eagles are the that's clear. They were better this year. Personnel, there's a significant difference here. And then the Eagles have the home field, and also the Giants are playing on a short week. The Eagles have had 2 weeks off here. Every column you look at favors the Eagles, and so yeah, I like the Eagles in this game as well.
Yeah, I saw Connor Hughes, if we can remember that, former nemesis, tweet about like how the Giants are getting the Eagles at a good time.
Yes, yeah.
And he's running down, and like the second thing on there is that Robert Quinn was limited this week in practice. I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
we're really reaching here.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There's a certain there's certain narratives that are forming here where, look, I'm not a homer. I recognize like there's things that could happen in a playoff game, and the Eagles
have lost their division rematch. Their other 2 division rematches this season,
and
there's something there,
and there were things that were really going well early in the season with the Eagles, in particular, turnover differential that you could say has regressed to the mean, but it's kind of been less than regressing to the mean. They're turning the ball over at a higher rate. And they're not getting takeaways, right? And as many takeaways, I should say. And that was a big part of what they were doing earlier this year. They're such a good red zone team. When they played against the Giants in Week 18, they went 1 of 5 in the red zone. The Giants have a good red zone defense. So yeah, there are things that could happen that could neutralize the advantage that the Eagles have. But the Eagles have such an advantage in this game, and I'm not buying this idea that you don't want to see the Giants, or like they're playing with the house money. Well, I mean, how much house money are they playing with right now? Right. Like so again, I see an Eagles advantage here, and I don't want this to turn into like all these Eagles reporters are just pumping up the Eagles, but they were 14-3 this year, and they're the number 1 seed, and they're facing a team that was 9-7-1 and is playing better than their talent.
Yeah, I mean, they were 12-1 or 14-1 with their starting quarterback. Like, let's calm down a little bit. That said, like, even if it was a 10-point spread, you're talking about like a 25%, 30% chance to win. So anything can happen. It's the bounce of a football, crazy stuff happens. I just like, if they play this game 10 times, I feel pretty confident the Eagles are going to win most of those games, but we'll see what happens Saturday night.
And that's that's the thing about the NFL playoffs, is that it's one time, right?
Yeah,
it's that
any given Saturday, Sunday or Monday. That's the thing.
It's the absolute truth. I mean, not to be cliche here, but in the NBA, the best team wins the series. Over a 7-game series, the best team wins the series. In the NFL, right? It is the any given Sunday trope, but it is true that the playoff games can be wonky, and that things can happen early in games that could shift it. It doesn't often represent like the best team doesn't always win. And that's you just look at the divisional round last year, by the way. The Chiefs were a better team than or no, I'm sorry. That was the conference championship. I thought the Chiefs were the better team than the Bengals, but weird things happen there. You think of the goal line before the second, before halftime, right? And if you leave a team in a game and you make it a fourth quarter game, that's when you get worried.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of like plausible scenarios, even aside from bad turnover luck, where let's say Jalen Hurts comes out a little bit rusty. Giants take a lead and they're able to run the ball and shorten the game. And Daniel Jones makes some big plays with his legs, and they get more red zone stops than the Eagles are used to having against them. And it comes down to a field goal at the end. Like that's not a crazy situation or solution for this game. But I just like looking at it from every angle. I feel pretty confident from how the Eagles line up. Everything, as you said, like all the columns are in their favor.
Well said. I agree.
All right, Zach, let's do a little throwback. Playoff time. Let's do a little Owl draft. Okay? No, for the newbies who haven't been with us for this long. Owl draft, we're going to each draft 4 players. A player on offense and defense who we will be talking about if the Eagles win or lose the game. I will let you go first. You can pick any of those spots to fill.
So if the Eagles win this game, I believe we'll be talking about Dallas Goedert. And I say Dallas Goedert because I think there's a matchup here that the Eagles can exploit. Goddard did not play in that Week 14 game against the Giants, but if you remember, the Eagles were going to the tight ends in that game, right? I think the first pass of the game was to Calcaterra. And
you can tell Jalen trusts him.
The Giants have been one of the worst teams in the NFL this season against tight ends. I think if you look at fantasy points allowed, they're in the bottom 5, right? So that can be an indicator of tight end production against
31st
defense.
in DVOA.
Okay.
Or yards allowed, but yeah.
And then to add in there, you saw what TJ Hawkinson did last week, and then to take that a step further, I think the Giants are going to blitz in this game, and as we've seen this year, and we talked about it on the previous pod. I don't want to keep repeating ourselves. By the way, that is something you have to worry for the daily pods, is that you just regurgitate the same points. You have to be original. But
we can find a way.
Dallas Goedert I think Dallas Goedert's going to be used as a blitz beater. The Eagles love to get him those quick passes. Goddard's run after the catch ability is really good for a tight end. And I think the injury during the back stretch of the schedule almost made, when I say people, made the general public forget like how well Dallas Goedert was playing. He was one of the 3 best tight ends in the NFL before that injury. And I could see this being like a signature Goedert game. So Dallas Goedert, someone who I hope Bo can tweet, if he has a big game, Bo can tweet out that story from the earlier this year where you really get to learn about Goddard's personality, because Goedert is someone who will take on a bigger stage with this performance.
I totally agree with you. That would have been my pick. You stole him from me, so I'm going to have to maybe steal someone else from you later. But I think that, like, even if they didn't have this crazy matchup, I would have been expecting a big Dallas Goedert game, because I feel like when they came out, like when they did their self-scout during the bye, they would have looked at like how well Dallas Goedert was playing on a like target by target basis since he returned from injured reserve. And they would be like, why are we not getting him the ball more? He is like, he has looked awesome. He just hasn't been getting the ball. And so I think I totally agree. I think he could have like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns or something like that. I think this could be a big Goedert game. I will take an easy one here, and say that if the Eagles lose this game, someone on offense who we will be talking about, it's got to be Lane Johnson. If he tries to play through the adductor and it gives out, and he can't do it, then all of a sudden it's like, well, should we have even tried this to begin with? would it have been better to have Jack Driscoll prepare for a full week? And, that if you're looking about a way that this game could blow up on the Eagles, maybe it's, Kayvon Thibodeau is a bit of a menace on the outside and ruins some Jalen Hurts plays and forces a fumble or two. But aside from Jalen Hurts, that's the path that I see.
I think yes, you're right there. And I've done interviews elsewhere where they keep asking how Lane Johnson's going to look. And I say, like, I don't know how Lane Johnson's going to look because I can't imagine what it's like to play with this type of injury. But in 11 years covering the team, 10 of them Lane Johnson's played. And what I can say without any degree of equivocation is that they're a better team with Lane Johnson on the field than without him. So, but if he fights through this and he doesn't make it, then we've seen that with offensive tackles before, right? Where all of a sudden you go to a plan B that you didn't prep for that week. So that's an interesting point.
It's part of why I think like the beginning of this game when the Eagles are on offense, I think is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a little bit cagey, like the two teams sort of feeling each other out, like the beginning of a boxing match, because it will be like, okay, how aggressive are the Giants going to be on defense? Is this going to be back to normal blitzing, or is this going to be what they did against the Vikings? Are they going to be a little bit more patient? On the other side, it's going to be, is Jalen Hurts willing to throw the ball or willing to take hits? Or like, are they willing to have that part of the offense? Is Lane Johnson okay? Let's test him out. I think it's going to be like, like a little tepid at first. Both sides sort of feeling each other out.
So if the Eagles lose this game on defense, the talk's going to be about Jonathan Gannon, right? Because as we know here, well, no, I'm not saying necessarily from me, but I'm saying the big talk in the city. I mean, there's basically 2 years of evidence here that Jonathan Gannon loses games and the Eagles offense wins games, right? That was a joke. I thought you would sell it a little more.
But
I
don't know if that qualifies as a joke.
Well, that's how it's generally viewed. But to be look, I will flatter.
Why did the chicken cross the playground?
Why?
To get to the other slide.
Okay. I will engage here.
That's Casey's favorite joke.
In that this is a game where you don't have to overthink it defensively, I think. And you said it at the top of the show. The Eagles have the corners to play against these wide receivers, right? I saw Dan Orlovsky from ESPN break down like what the Eagles defense
why
can't
Jeff
do.
Saturday is the most qualified candidate for the Colts job.
What this Eagles defense can't do against Daniel Jones. And I thought it was good. Like they need to trust their corners in this game. They need to pressure Daniel Jones. I think if they sit back and they let Daniel Jones make plays, make high efficient pass or high percentage passes, or if he's able to move and run the ball, then that's where Jones can get confidence here. But I think the Eagles have such an advantage with their defensive personnel that this is why you have two of the best cornerbacks in the league. James Bradbury was second team All-Pro. Darius Slay thought he should have been on the All-Pro team and pointed out that he was on the first team All-Pro team by the players. So if the players think he's a first team All-Pro, why doesn't the media think he's a first team All-Pro? But yeah, you have two cornerbacks who are like this. The Eagles haven't had that in such a long time. How many? I think back to playoff games when they've had, we can go through the names when it was Kerry Williams and Bradley Fletcher in 2013 playoffs. And then in the 2017 playoffs, Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby were tough players, but they were not all-pro players. You look at some of the corners they've had in the following games, and they have such a good cornerback combination, and they're playing against wide receivers who are, I don't want to say no-name wide receivers, but you're not facing CeeDee Lamb here, right? You're not facing Justin Jefferson. You're facing guys who you should have confidence in your corners against them. And so I think that this is one of those games. I don't like that term soft zone, but if they are playing what the radio caller will call soft zone, then I think you're almost playing into what the Giants are able to do. This is a game where you need to trust your corners can win in man coverage because they can win in man coverage. And I do think that if the Giants can get some offensive momentum like they did last week, even if the Eagles offense sputters, the conversation on Sunday morning and on Monday morning is going to be about the defensive coordinator, because that's the way it's been after every loss this season. The focus has been on the defensive coordinator. Even when they lost to the Saints and the Eagles offense was like a 3-and-out machine, it was, the Eagles offense let them score on the first drive, or the Eagles defense let them score on the first drive. So yeah, I think that's where the blame will go.
Okay. I'm going to steal one from you. I gave you 2 chances to get it, but if the Eagles win this game on defense, someone who I think we will be talking about, you can make a case for Hassan Reddick dominating Evan Neal, who was the weak link of that offensive line. You can make a case for the corners who you talked about, especially James Bradbury going up against his former team. But I'm going to go with someone who has not had the best season. But I just sort of feel it in my bones that Fletcher Cox has, he still has it in him to save it up for a big game.
I like that.
He had they rotate the defensive lineman a lot. He has not had to play too many snaps. I don't think he can lift his level to the former, all-pro Fletcher Cox level over the course of the postseason. But I think he's got a game record game in him. He's also been he has been close a lot this year, where he's been the first guy to move the quarterback from the spot, and then Brandon Graham cleans up the sack or somebody else gets it. I think maybe that regresses a little bit, and Fletcher Cox has a big game, both stopping Saquon Barkley and also maybe a couple sacks of Daniel Jones with a forced fumble.
You did steal that one from me, and I agree. And I think Fletcher Cox is a player to watch this game. I don't want to say he's been saving it for the playoffs, because
can you tell your story? Is that okay to tell this story?
Not yet, because I'm holding that in case he has a big performance.
Okay.
And I think it'd be a real good story for next week. I certainly don't want to give that out right now, but it's a tease. I'll talk about it on the playoff pods. But if in fact they do win, I don't want to count chickens before they hatch here. So I guess we can't steal from either of each other now, because we already used. So right. I don't have to worry about that. So if the Eagles lose, I think we'll be talking about Jalen Hurts on offense. And I say that because obviously you always talk about the quarterback, right? But playoffs tend to, whether it's fair or it's unfair, playoffs tend to leave narratives about quarterbacks in particular. And the last impression is often a lasting impression, one good or bad. And last year did not end well in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts' game against the playoffs was a bad game. It was his game in the playoffs against Tampa Bay was a bad game. And he's been amazing this year. He's been every bit MVP worthy. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to win it, and I think it's certainly justifiable for Patrick Mahomes to win it. I would probably pick Patrick Mahomes, but I could make you a very compelling case that Jalen Hurts should be the MVP this year, and that he is their franchise quarterback. He's the guy going forward. And I'll say this too. I know we tend to tout our articles here, but Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated, he had a Jalen Hurts story out yesterday. And I want to point this out because Greg Bishop's profiled a lot of the great quarterbacks in recent history. I mean, this is what he does.
He has a way of really moving well diagonally.
Okay, that's a chess reference. But Greg said, and this was in his tweet for the story, met with a lot of NFL quarterbacks over the years, but Jalen Hurts might be the most self-assured of all. And I thought that was really interesting because, you name a quarterback, Greg Bishop's written about him. And for him to say that about Jalen Hurts.
Ben DiNucci.
You know what I mean? He hasn't written. I don't think he's written about Ben DiNucci, but
Reed Sinnett,
you name a great quarterback over the years. Greg Bishop's written about him.
Alex Magoo.
And so for him to say that about Jalen Hurts, I think really speaks to who Jalen Hurts is. But look, if Jalen Hurts loses this playoff game, if the Eagles lose this playoff game, not Jalen Hurts loses this playoff game, if the Eagles lose this playoff game and Jalen Hurts is 0-2 in the postseason, yeah, that's going to be something that's discussed. And even if it's unfair,
Of course it's going to be discussed.
well, isn't that what this game is, Bo?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a little bit like to take the quarterback. Of course it is. If they lose, of course we're going to talk about the quarterback.
I'm outlining you why it's
Okay,
not just I'm saying because it's his first playoff game this year, because playoff games have lasting there. I by the way, if they win this week and then they lose next week, I don't think that conversation is going to take place. But if they lose,
it depends on how that happens.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, everything depends. But
Right.
if they lost this week and he is 0-2 in the postseason, and his two postseason starts are not particularly good postseason starts, then there is going to be a narrative that forms so that's why I picked him for this week.
Yes, and as Tracer points out, the quarterback has traditionally been excluded from this game, and I think also the defensive coordinator. So you've now had both 10 polls, but that's okay. It's not the idea behind the game, but that's fine. But I mean, what you're saying is true, and I actually think it would be less about. I mean, obviously it depends on how the game plays out, but I think it would be less about he's 0-2 in the playoffs and more about he's now gotten hurt at the end of 2 consecutive seasons, and maybe that has affected his ability in the playoffs. And then it's a larger conversation about, do you pay him if you can't trust that, he can play his style and make it through a full season.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, someone on defense who we're going to talk about if they lose. I'm gonna go with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, CJ Gardner-Johnson, who my assumption is that we're gonna see what we saw in Week 18, which is that he will be in the nickel when the Eagles are in not base personnel. And if that's the case, it's a position that he's only played one game with for the Eagles. Obviously, he is an experienced nickel player, but if there are busts, I could see that happening there, especially knowing that because the Eagles have Darius Slay and James Bradbury on the outside, I would imagine that that's the area of the field that the Giants would like to attack from a passing standpoint. If there are Daniel Jones scrambles, it would stand to reason that, it could be CJ Gardner-Johnson who's left there to try to tackle him and maybe missing a tackle. Same thing goes for potentially Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. And so I think that CJ Gardner-Johnson is a player, if things go wrong, is somebody who we could be talking about, especially if they lose the game. You're talking about who are they going to bring back? And he's set to hit the open market. So that's my answer there.
So you did something, by the way, that's a good Bo staple for your previous answer, which is you mentioned like 4 names before you mentioned Fletcher Cox, right? You're like, I could talk about James Bradbury here for this reason. I could talk about Hassan Reddick here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's an important job to make sure that I have ownership over a lot of things. Yeah.
And then when it comes to our post-game pod, he can say that he mentioned it.
Yeah, this is not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm going with Hassan Reddick here. First playoff game he's ever played in. He got pressure in that first game against the Giants. He got pressure in that second game against the Giants. He's gotten pressure in most games this year. He is absolutely revved up about playing in the postseason after 5 years without getting there. And, I think that he should be a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. He's not going to be. He's not going to win it, but he should be in that conversation. And I think he's going to have a huge game if they win.
Okay, I think that's fair. And as we said, Evan Neal is there to be had. So that's working in his favor. All right, what's my last one? If the Eagles win the game, who are we going to talk about on offense? Okay, because you took Goddard. I think Jalen Hurts is an interesting possibility here. Thank you, Marissa.
Sorry.
Zach was not paying attention.
Yeah, no, I have to put because like we said at the beginning of the pod, this feels like a Saturday for me, but it's actually a Friday. And I have a radio interview every Friday at this time that I need to reschedule. So yeah, so I have to text that.
We know it well because at the media house, this is a famous weekly radio hit because Zach will go upstairs and we can all hear him. But it's a radio interview where, for whatever reason, they really keep Zach on for like 25 minutes, and so we get to joke about, Anthony's really holding Zach hostage again this week.
Yeah, so I realized I'm like, oh, this is a Friday right now. So yeah, text me out.
I'm gonna say Miles Sanders. It would be a surprise if AJ Brown or Devontae Smith don't do something big in this game. However, the Giants were 32nd in rush DVOA defense over the course of the season. And even when they had this like late season improvement, they were only up to 22 against the run. So we saw what the Eagles were able to do in the second half against the Giants in week 14 for all of Dexter Lawrence's ability in the middle of the field. And boy, is he awesome. Everybody else is there to be had in the run game. Their linebackers are terrible. We talked about if they go to 7 defensive backs or even just a regular dime package, the Eagles should be able to run the ball on them. I know that everybody likes the Boston Scott Giants killer thing, which is very funny, but I could see a rested Miles Sanders having a big game against a bad run defense.
I agree. And Miles Sanders against Saquon Barkley is a big topic. Check out, by the way, Dan Pompei's story on The Athletic about Miles Sanders that appeared on Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Let's take our break. Just one break today. We'll come back. We got a big swooper to get to. Crystal Ball Eagle predictions. And Zach's top 5 menu items from Chick-fil-A. If your New Year's goals are to manage your budget better and save a little cash money, well, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just one show, or that free trial that you never even used. I know that this is definitely the case for me. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as a click of a button, which is good because there are a couple ones I've had in the past that are like notoriously difficult to cancel. There's a certain newspaper that falls along those lines. We'll save that for later. But that's okay. All you got to do is find the subscription you don't want, press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of it for you. They do the whole thing. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. So stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/birds. That's rocketmoney.com/birds. rocketmoney.com/birds. Welcome back to Birds with Friends. Zach, Marissa, Bo, as we prepare. What's funny? What is Zach doing?
I don't know. Zach was like all of a sudden surprised that we were back, and like the
Sorry.
look on his face was like, "What?"
I was responding to text messages. I'm sorry about that.
How's Jeffrey doing?
All right, let's get on with the show. Come on.
Okay. Well, I think we can bring in our guest
We have a guest.
as we prepare.
Look at that.
Zach, we told you this.
I was selling it for the audience.
Oh, okay.
And Daniz, for the audio listeners, is joining us, the professor himself. And I think the reason we have you on is because you have an anecdote to share of something that happened to you this morning.
Oh yeah, that was great. This morning I drop off Everett at daycare, and I pop into my favorite local coffee shop, Rival Brothers. Shout out 20th and Lombard, or 24th and Lombard. And I run into a friend, and I said, they said, "Oh, what are you going to do today?" And I said, "Well, actually, I'm gonna pop on Birds with Friends this morning. I'm excited about that." And the person in front of me turns around like really quickly and excitedly and says, "Birds with Friends? That's my brother Zach."
That's
And
amazing.
I was like, "Oh wow, that is awesome!" And which brother are you and everything. And so that was really great. It was Matt, brother number 2, and we got to reminisce about back when Zach lived in the neighborhood, and we ran into him. And Matt said, "That's right, Zach left us."
Fellow Penn guy, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh, we didn't get a chance to talk about that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah,
got to meet
fellow
his wife Marissa as well, and it was great.
All right.
So
Excellent name, by the way. Shout out to Marissa Berman.
Yes, I think whenever whenever the season ends, I think we need to do a full episode of baby name quackatology.
Okay. Well, I guess we should.
It was also really funny, by the way. He texted Zach apparently, and he told me
Yes.
that he texted you, Zach, and he said that you told him that you hoped he was nice to me, which I was just imagining the counter to that. Like he just like poured his coffee on me and kicked me and stuff.
I hope he told you that I called you brilliant in the text. Yes, I said he's a professor. He's brilliant. So
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the flattery. That is not going to save you in Swooper today, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna say Zach's buttering you up.
I was listening to a podcast on the way to work yesterday. I was listening to Adam Grant's podcast, and he had on who's another professor at Penn, and it was he was speaking to an author, and they were talking about game theory, and I was like, I need to jot down notes here, because actually one of the things they were talking about was something that could really help me in future swoopers. So I can't wait for Wednesdays when the season ends to try to audit Professor Selman's class.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Should we hit the sounder?
Yes, we should.
Sorry. Zach, start us off.
5.
What?
Wait.
Dennis just ruined Zach's weekend.
Swooper.
Oh!
It's the best. It's so good. All right. We are here for the divisional round swooper. This is 3 points at stake. I have 8 points on the season. Marissa has 5. Zach has 4. So a Marissa win this week would tie me at the top. A tie this week, if the Eagles win the game, would make it a 7-point week next week. That's insane. I would say unfair to whoever it was that proved to be best over the course of the season, but that's neither here nor there. Zach, you have
Whoever built the massive lead precisely due to that rule, you mean? Yes.
Exactly.
Zach, you have 44 turkeys with which to bid. I have 45. Marissa, you have 29. I believe it is my turn to go first this week. And so I will start with a very down the middle one. The Eagles will play the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. I will open the bidding at 4.
5.
I'm out on this one.
So you're predicting 2 outcomes here.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yes.
Do I hear
Thanks for
6?
clarifying that. I will say 6.
6 going once. 6 going twice. Sold to Bo. Okay.
Good one.
I do think that's going to happen, but that's a lot to predict.
All right. Marissa, why don't you go next?
Okay. Well, I've seen some comments in the chat, and unfortunately, I did not do a gender reveal one last week because my big mouth accidentally revealed it on a cameo in classic fashion. So Baby Dunn is a girl.
All right.
Very
Yes.
excited. Yes.
I knew it was going to be a girl.
So yes, very excited.
Michael's going to be a wonderful girl dad.
Yeah, he's very excited. So unfortunately, I cannot make that part of Swooper and gain some points from it, but I will take the points that the gender reveal or the baby reveal helped me get back in the game. So, all right, I'm going to start with Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts combined for more rushing yards or touchdowns than Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones.
What does the or touchdowns mean there?
I don't know. That one was thrown in by the chat. Maybe let's do rushing yards, just rushing yards.
So Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders combined for more rushing yards than Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Okay. You got to open the bidding.
3.
6.
7.
8.
9.
10. How many do I have?
You have 44.
10. Wow. 11.
12.
Okay, I'm out. 12 going
as well.
once. 12 going twice. Sold to Bo. Wow. Okay. You don't have any faith in Daniel Jones's legs?
Not as much as I do in Shields' legs.
All right.
So my swoopers are going to have a theme here. And the theme is the NFC Divisional Round from 2017. Things that occurred in that game here. So some of these have a low probability of occurring, but who knows? Okay. The first being that there is a goal line stand by the Eagles. So it doesn't have to be the end of the game. Well, famously, the Falcons had that goal line stand there where they did not score. So the Giants are inside the 10-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they don't get any points from the drive. And they have all 4 downs.
You're given inside the 10 is the goal line?
All right, let's go inside the 5. Let's go inside the 5.
I guess you're saying no points at all.
No points at all. Yeah. And not like a first.
Well, how about
like a first down turnover? Like it has to be a stand, right?
And
so
no field goal attempt. What about a missed field goal?
No. Okay. All right, I'm so
they fail.
That's the 4th down.
Okay. So a 4th down stop inside the 10-yard line. Is that a fair or inside the 5-yard line?
Yeah.
10 or 5.
Let's go 5. Let's go.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think a goal line stop would mean inside the 5.
Dennis?
Does it have to start? Does it have to start?
No, I think the last play of the 4th down is inside the 5-yard line.
Is inside the 5-yard line. Deal.
Okay.
Deal.
Okay.
What are you starting the bidding at?
Starting the bidding at 2.
3.
4.
5.
I'm out.
5 going once. 5 going twice. Sold to me. Okay. I'm going to bank on a good Eagles defense and an aggressive Dable.
Okay. I like that. All right, Professor.
I wouldn't bank on an aggressive Dable. 25th most aggressive on 4th downs.
Ooh. I feel like they went for it a bunch in the last game, no?
They did, yeah.
They went for it in their own territory on a big 4th and 1. Yes, that is true.
Okay.
And early in the season, I think
and they didn't
there was
convert,
a long stretch in the middle of the season when he stopped being so aggressive.
Mm-hmm. I was very excited to come on today because I have I've just been watching film and looking at stats all week, and I have all this stuff, and I was like I'm going to incorporate these into the Swooper.
Like Zach.
And Zach will appreciate that I that I do want to talk about the game some. While
I do
I'm here.
appreciate that. Yes.
So this first Swooper is going to be about an early downs thing, which I know Bo likes to make fun of me for being really into. The Giants defense is 32nd by EPA, 21st by success on early downs. So they're really bad. They're really bad in general. But when they do get the 3rd down, which is rare, they're dead last in the league at even getting to 3rd down. They give up first downs on early downs so often. But when they do get there, they're pretty good. They're actually 4th in success rate, 7th in EPA. And I've heard some of the Giants players talk this week about how they're good situationally. They're good in the red zone and they're good on third down. But they have to get the third down, right? So in week 14, the Eagles passed on 19 of the 23 early downs in the first 3 drives. All 3 drives ended in touchdowns. And 7 of the 13 first downs came on early downs. So this Swooper is about getting first downs on early downs. And in that game, the Eagles got more first downs on early downs than the Giants got total. And that's exactly what this Swooper is. The Swooper is the Eagles are going to convert more first downs on early downs, meaning first and second down, than the Giants convert total first downs. And again, this did happen in week 14. And I'll let this one just be a normal auction. The other 2 are going to be more fun.
2.
3.
4.
I'm out. 4
Okay.
going once.
Seems like Bo has had an ample opportunity to make a bid, and he has
4 going twice.
It still has to go through the process. What do you...
Sold to Zach
Okay.
4. Okay.
good value play.
First, early down.
Quick thing about the early down thing, by the way, I heard Zach chose, before he chose Jalen Hurts for Owl, he chose Dallas Goedert. And the Giants linebackers are famously bad. They have Jared Davis, who they picked up from the Lions practice squad, first-round bust, starting somehow. I have no idea how that happened or why it happened. Jalen Smith as well. They take them off the field as soon as they can. Like against the Vikings last week, they were taking them off on second down. It would get to like 2nd and 8, and they'd switch to dollar. And as Bo said, the Eagles will probably run on that. I noticed in the first game, Eagles would get a first down on third down against dollar, and they would always go no huddle in that situation to catch the Giants in dollar on the next first down. And so that'll be an interesting thing to look for if the Eagles try to do that.
I like that. And even if they don't throw a run on it, like Dallas Goedert is a good matchup against those guys, right? Like
interestingly, they never did run in those first downs. They passed it every time, which was kind of interesting to see. That they went no huddle, kept them in dollar, but then just based on the look or whatever, they.
All right. I talked about the feeling out process. What are we going to see from Jalen Hurts? My proposal here is that there is a called Jalen Hurts run on the opening offensive possession for the Eagles. So if it's a long drive, could be at any point. If it's a 3 and out, got to be in the first 3 plays. But at some point in the opening Eagles possession, they have a called quarterback run.
And does called quarterback run include a zone read where he holds it?
Yes.
Where he tucks it. Okay.
Or an RPO
Okay.
where exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
But scrambles don't count.
Yes. Okay.
And you know what I'm going to say for this? Sneaks don't count.
That's fair. That's
fair.
fair.
I think that's
that's not a traditional run.
Yeah, it's not. It's not the spirit of the question.
Sure.
And I will say 4.
5.
6.
7.
I'm out. Do I hear
And just
8?
real quick, he had 5 such runs in week 14 in the game, non-sneak.
Right, and that was in a blowout. So you would imagine they were calling less as the game went on. You have 7,
Fewer.
Zach?
Fewer.
Right.
More as the game went on because they didn't run at all in the first half.
Right. I'll say 8.
9.
Wow. 9 going once. 9 going twice.
I'll say 10.
Ooh. Come on, Zach. Do I hear 11?
11.
Wow. Bo, do I hear
I
12?
feel like they want to send this message very early.
11 going once. 11 going twice. Sold to Z-Berm for 11. Wow.
Too spicy.
Okay.
Zach, you've got 29 left. I've got 27. Marissa's got 24.
Okay.
I should have gone for 12, but I think Zach would have gone.
All right, am I up? Or is Marissa? No,
Marissa's
Marissa.
I'm
up.
up.
Marissa, a lot of talk in the chat I've seen. Big compliments on the hair today.
Oh, thank you. This was hair from yesterday. My hair's getting very dark. I have not dyed my hair since I found out I was pregnant. So I will have probably brown hair by the time this podcast is over.
This
Yeah,
podcast
this
it
is-
does go on for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be we
By
got
the time
a few more hours to go.
the daily pods are over in the playoffs. Yeah. But thank you. I appreciate that from everybody. Give me a good confidence boost. Okay. And you know who's going to give Zach a confidence boost this weekend? Eli. So the broadcast showing Eli 3 or more times.
Three or
Games.
more. Ooh.
3 or more.
I mean, he's probably going to be in the owner's booth, right? In the owner's box, would be my guess. So he could be the go-to shot.
And it's like if it's the same drive, it doesn't matter. It just like flashes to the camera, flashes back to
Okay,
the
it could be
field.
just a
Yes.
cut back and forth. That counts twice.
That counts.
Quick interruption. Eli was the Giants quarterback who last won a game at the link for the Giants. Question for you, Zach. Trivia question.
Two can you
Who were
name?
the Eagles quarterbacks who played in that game? The last time the Giants won at the link. There were 2 because there was an injury.
Okay. The last time the Giants won at the link, and you have Eli as the starter here. So I am going with shoot, this is bad podcasting.
Sorry about that.
That's no problem. No, it's not your
I'll
fault.
give you a hint. The Eagles have won 9 games in a row at the link against the Giants. The last time the Giants won was in the first year of Chip, 2013.
Oh, okay. Well, this is easy then. Michael Vick. No. I'm sorry. Matt Barkley got in. It was Nick Foles.
You got both of them.
Matt
It was
Barkley.
Michael Vick, and then Matt Barkley had to play the last 44
Okay.
snaps of that game, which is
Gotcha.
why the Giants won.
I'll give
That-
it to Zach too. He can't even see the comments because there was a lot of Barkley
That's
comments
true.
in the
Okay.
chat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Marissa, did you put a bid on this yet?
Oh, I'm gonna start with 2.
Okay. I'll say 3.
4. 4 going once. 4 going twice. Sold to me.
I think you're gonna get that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see lots of Eli.
Okay, so I'm up here. That Eagles Falcons game, famously, Torrey Smith had the catch off of Keanu Neal's knee. I'm not the
Neano.
category.
I
the
think
category
Torrey Smith
he-
is gonna be at the game too.
Yes.
saw
Yeah,
that.
I think he's one of the honorary captains.
Yeah.
I don't think he's.
Yes, the
I-
3 greatest Eagles of all time: Torrey Smith, Malcolm Jenkins, and Brent Selleck.
Bridge too far, right?
They're going to actually announce that they're going to retire Torrey Smith's number in the game.
Hey, I would be the first
Meanwhile,
one
Malcolm
clapping for
Jenkins is going to be there.
that. You know, Torrey
Zach
Smith's a
McPherson's
turf.
going to run him over.
So no. This is not that.
Hold on, a good clarification quickly on the chat. It has to be a live shot of Eli. No, like old
Yes.
shots of,
Yes,
Eli
yes.
or footage that does not count. Yeah.
Yes, live shot of Eli
Okay.
at the game.
Okay, so
I feel like if he's given the double birds, I should like automatically get it. Should we add an asterisk to that
No.
one?
Absolutely
no,
not.
Okay,
You've already gotten your baby
yeah.
charity.
fine.
Um,
Fine. Okay.
So this is not obviously a ball hits the opponent's knee that the Eagles catch, but the Eagles catch a pass that's deflected off of a New York Giant player. Okay, so it could be
It could be
helmet,
tipped
could
at
be
the line
hand.
of scrimmage, right?
Right.
Yes,
If it's tipped at the line of scrimmage,
Yes.
it counts.
Now, does defense count too?
Yeah.
If it goes through a Giants receiver's
Oh
hands
no,
and
no,
a
no, no,
defensive
no!
player
It has to
catches
be
it?
it has to be an Eagles catch, in the spirit of Torrey
An
Smith's
offense.
catch.
Eagles offensive.
Yes,
catch.
Eagles offensive catch,
Okay.
and I will start the bidding at 1.
Typical Z-Burn
You
submission.
weasel.
I mean, this has
Yeah.
probably happened one time all year.
I'm going with a theme here. Okay. Yes. If you think about memorable things that occurred in that Falcons game, the goal line stand, this.
It was
and then-
memorable precisely because. Okay.
So like a Giants player could almost intercept it, and
Yes.
that counts.
Yes.
But he's saying he has to touch it.
Yes. He
It
has
has
to
to,
touch
yeah,
it.
it has to deflect off him. Yes.
Okay.
May as well have had Devin
one
Allen
going
Two.
twice.
catch the pass.
2.
That's a fun one to root for.
2 going once. 2 going twice. Sold to Marissa.
Okay.
Zach wanted no part of that. All right,
gonna
Professor.
happen now.
Oh, it's me. Okay. Daniel Jones in his presser was asked about playing in front of the Philly fans. Creative questions by the Giants media I noticed all week. They're known for having a good crowd. We're prepared for it. We've played there before, he said, which is false. He has never played in front of a Philly crowd in his life. I was there. I was there the only time that he ever played at the Link, and there were 5,000 other fans there. It was the year where it was COVID, and they were only letting 5,000 fans in the game.
And
so
boy,
I was
what
one
a
of the
great
lucky...
job Roger Goodell did making sure that season got through and they didn't miss any games. You got to give him credit.
I was one of the lucky few who got to see Daniel Jones run all that way and then fall flat on his face. That was the only time he's ever played at the Link. So the question is related to the Giants being affected by the crowd. It is going to be a Dutch auction where I'm going to count down from whoever has the most turkeys number down. And it is that the Giants have... How much is it?
29.
Okay, I'll count fast. The Giants have at least 2 of the following things total. False start penalties, delay of game penalties, or a needless timeout, which is clearly called to avoid a delay of game. Hopefully there won't be too much debate about whether that was the case or not. It has to be just before the play clock expires. It can't be one of those where they're like, Okay, so
can they be a combination?
Yes.
Okay.
2 total of those things.
Okay, it doesn't have to be 2 false starts. Okay.
Right. Okay, ready? I'm going to count down from 29. Whoever yells Swooper gets it. Only the winner pays. 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9,
Swooper.
8.
Ooh.
Okay, Zach said Swooper before I said 8, so he gets it for 9.
I was going to go for 8, so good job by Zach. You got
I was going for 7. I thought you guys were gonna. Wow, I like that one. I think that one has a high percentage chance of happening.
Yeah, 2 false starts feels like that could definitely happen.
Or it's a late timeout. Like, I could see that.
Now there is some scuttlebutt that the Giants are going to have maybe a bigger fan presence than you might expect for this game. They've been buying up some tickets. Some Eagles fans willing to maybe hope that they'll win this game and they can go next week, cash in. Just some buzz that I'm hearing.
That's not you, Deniz, right?
No, it's not me, and I'm sure there will be more than 5,000 Eagles fans there, regardless.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go for the big play Eagles here. Jalen Hurts had the touchdown catch or throw to Devontae Smith with Julian Love missing the interception in that first Giants game. He also hit A.J. Brown for a long touchdown on the very next play. This is a very straightforward. The Eagles have a passing touchdown of at least 40 yards. And I will start the bidding at 3.
4.
Eagles had 2 completions over 20 yards in week 14 total.
But it has to be a touchdown,
and it was those 2 touchdowns, yes.
Yeah.
Bo, it has to be a touchdown?
It has to be a touchdown.
Back-to-back plays.
I will say 5.
5 going once. 5 going twice.
Sold
to Bo. Okay. All right. We talked a lot about Dallas Goedert. So, Dallas Goedert has at least 100 receiving yards.
And starting at what?
2.
3.
4.
5.
6.
I think this has only happened 3 times in his career. Is that right? You know what? I'm like a coach with the timeouts in the playoffs here. I can't take timeouts into the offseason. Although we do have Swooper next week regardless, right? So
no. If the Eagles lose?
Oh, if the Eagles lose?
Oh, I thought we were going to the...
There's no conference championship?
No. If the Eagles lose, Swooper... I mean,
okay.
we can talk about the games, but Swooper ends when the Eagles season ends.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he decides that like 3/4 of the
Oh,
way
come on.
through.
That's everybody knows that.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
that's-
this was going. I mean, we did it last week when the Eagles didn't play.
Yeah,
that
because
was
the
the
Eagles
bye
season
week.
is still going.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
But what if it
So,
ends in a tie? What if
we
I
can't-
win?
That's part of
Oh.
the game.
If it ends in a tie, we'll do Super Bowl 1. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll make that decision. But yeah, I think it's fair.
That's huge. I've been
That
like
that decision was made in a past year, by the way.
past
If
year,
you
yeah.
guys had said, if it ends in a tie, you'll do a Super Bowl tiebreaker.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right.
So what's
I
it
think
at
I
now?
was at 5.
6.
Was that 5? Okay. We'll do it like that. 7.
8.
9.
It's yours.
9
Okay.
going once.
Yeah.
9 going twice. Sold to Marissa.
I'm really banking on one of Professor Selman's on his last one to be one I want turkeys for.
That's
Here's
a stark
one.
contrast to your past strategy of taking your AirPods out during that.
So the other thing we recall from that Falcons game was Fletcher Cox had a huge game. Okay. And so Fletcher Cox has at least 5 a combination of quarterback hits, sacks, tackles for losses, which is what he had against the Falcons in that probably one of the best games I've ever seen him play.
Now, will you count a sack as a sack and a quarterback hit? Will it count as 2?
I'm counting whatever it'll be what the
box
stat
score
sheet.
says. So
Yeah.
then yes, okay.
So the stat sheet reads from that game: 1 sack, 2 TFLs, 2 QB hits.
Okay.
How many turkeys do I have left, though?
You have 9.
And
Zach has
sacks-
20. I have 22.
Sacks almost always count as QB hits. Sometimes, like if the quarterback goes
Runs
out of bounds,
bounds.
or chasing
Yeah,
it or
yeah.
something, you'll get the sack, but not the
Yeah.
Or a strip sack is usually not a QB hit either.
So I'm starting the bidding at 3.
I forgot there was there was a play in the NFL a couple weekends ago where a guy.
Professor Spellman told us.
Oh, was that you telling us
Yeah.
about it? Zach?
Oh yeah. It was
okay.
Christian Ellis's brother,
That's
got
right,
hurt
that's
out of
right,
a
that's
sack
right.
because
Yeah,
someone else
that's
had
right.
a sack on the same play. Yeah,
Yeah,
there were 2
exactly.
sacks on the same play, which
There
is
you go.
amazing.
Yeah. I've started at 3.
I said 4.
It was
5.
Minshew, Gardner Minshew.
6.
7.
See, the good one about this is that even if it hits, I'll get some credit.
Yeah.
So I don't need this one.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't play
8.
for credit. So 9.
Okay, I can't bid.
9 going once. 9 going twice. Sold to Zach.
Okay.
Is it me? Sorry.
This
Yeah.
is you. It's the last one.
Okay. All right. So, big playoff week. This is it. This is why we're fans, and and this is like the whole thing. It's I know the Kennedy Brooks signing and the future look bright, but this is it. Like this is it, right? Like
This is it.
we're all very nervous and all that. And so one of the ways that I try to relax from this is doing these silly uniform combination analytic stuff. And so the last one is related to that, but not completely about that. So the Eagles under Nick Sirianni are 8-10 wearing green and white, and 15-2 wearing anything else, right? And which is kind of surprising since they normally wear green and white at home, but they're wearing green on white this week. And the other thing is, they have worn green on white 8 times this season. And in all 5-day games, they wore white socks. And in all 3 night games, they wore black socks. Okay. So keep that in mind when you hear the following swooper. And also the Eagles are undefeated all time in divisional home playoff games. They're obviously favored by a lot in this game. The swooper is that the Eagles win the game. And it's going to be an all-pay sealed bid auction. I know it's Zach's favorite. That means that everyone's going to pay their bid. But only the winner gets the item. Now, the winner, and only the winner, will get all of their turkeys back if the Eagles wear white socks in the NFC Championship game, which is scheduled for 3 p.m. So you get the point if the Eagles win the game, and then you get your turkeys back, but those turkeys could only be used for the Super Bowl. So basically, they would only be valuable to you if the Eagles also win the NFC Championship game, plus the socks pattern would have to continue so that they wear white during the day games. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Sealed bid, all pay. The losers will pay their bid, and they can't get their turkeys back ever. The winner will have a chance to get the turkeys back if the Eagles wear white socks next week.
How many turkeys does everyone have?
You have 11. Marissa has 9. I have 22. What about ties, Dennis?
If there is a tie, everyone still pays their bid, and we will flip a coin or do a random drawing or whatever, depending if there's 3. And only the winner gets the benefits of.
Okay.
Zach, did you just change what you wrote down?
Yeah, I did.
Because I saw it.
Yeah. You saw what I wrote down?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I changed what I wrote down.
Flip the screen like in slow-mo.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, yeah.
And you had a giant number written on your piece of paper.
Zach's over there playing 3-dimensional chess, like flashing fake bids.
I mean, if he's going to flash something, that's probably the right thing to flash.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm trying to get somebody else to care about the socks. I mean,
I'm a big uniform person.
All right,
so.
I'm ready.
Okay.
And it's not the socks this week, to be clear. It's the socks next week that matter. It's the game this week and the socks next week. Okay.
All right,
3, 2, 9 for Marissa, 0 for Zach, 12 for me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Marissa's wiped out.
Yep.
Zach didn't bid anything. He was going to bid 11. I bid 12. I have 10 turkeys left. I knew that I was going to go to 10 just to beat Marissa, but I couldn't risk it. I needed to win that. So
I was just like, you know what? I'm going all in. This could be the last week, apparently. So
yeah. So I was going all in until I heard what Bo had, and I was like, I'm just going to have to concede him the point because
I think that was probably right.
You know.
Yeah. So Zach, you have Fletcher Cox has 5 combined tackles for loss, sacks, quarterback hits. You have the crowd one with at least two false starts or timeouts. Jalen Hurts has a called run on the Eagles' opening possession, and the Eagles have more early down first downs than the Giants have overall first downs. I have the Eagles play the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders run for more yards than Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. There is a passing touchdown of at least 40 yards for the Eagles, and the last one with the Eagles winning the game, and then I get the turkeys back if they wear white socks in the NFC Championship game. Marissa has a goal line stand. They show Eli on TV at least 3 times. There's a tipped catch, and Dallas Goedert has at least 100 yards.
Okay.
All right. Dana, is any other? Go ahead.
No, sorry.
No, I want to know just you've done your prep. Is there anything else that you'd like to get off your chest in terms of?
Yeah, just one more thing in case anyone's feeling super confident about this game and needs to feel a little more nervous. When is the last time the Eagles won a home playoff game as a favorite?
Probably. I don't know, not since I've covered the beat. So you have to go before that.
Is it 2004?
Almost. It was Tiki Barber's last ever game, 2006. Wild card round against the Giants, 23-20 win. Since then, the Eagles won only one more game as a favorite period in Minnesota in the wild card round 2 years later in 2008. So it's been 14 years since the Eagles have won any kind of playoff game as a favorite. 0-4 in the last 4 games as a favorite. Championship game in Arizona, the wild card home losses to Green Bay, New Orleans, and Seattle. So if you're looking to be nervous, if you're wondering when's the last time I felt really good about the Eagles winning a playoff game as a favorite, and it actually happened, it was 14 years ago and 16 years ago at home. So
I'm sorry to jump in here. I have a radio hit that I'm late for. I'm gonna give my prediction. You guys can stick on. Is that okay?
Unbelievable. Now we find out who has priority. This is ridiculous.
I've kept pushing it back. It's we've been on for an hour and 35 minutes.
he's gonna be mad at you, Zach. Zachariah, you're late.
Eagles Giants.
My best Gargano.
So the over-under is 48 points. I have the Eagles winning, but not covering. I have the Eagles 28, Giants 23.
All right. Thanks for deigning to spend some time with us on your actual job, Zach. Go enjoy your hobby.
Well, you jumped on 9 minutes late.
I did not
Wow,
jump on
shots
9 minutes late.
fired.
We started 9 minutes late. I jumped
jumped
on
on-
1 minute late. Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll talk about. I think everything we need to discuss was sufficiently covered over the past 90 minutes. Yeah, that's my prediction. I have missed calls here. I gotta get to. Thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to the post game pod. Much to discuss.
Right. Well,
Thank
the
you
good
for coming on,
news is
Professor
we have
Summer.
Matt, who's about to join us, who's at Dana's house, and he's gonna take over. All right, Dennis, you do not do predictions, right?
No, I'm way too nervous and way too much of a fan to do such a thing.
Okay.
I can talk about stuff to look for early in the game.
What else would you like to tell us to look for?
I do think there's this the Giants changing on defense has been discussed and all that kind of stuff, and it'll be interesting to see how they play against the Eagles, because in that first game they played a lot of base, they played a lot of 5-man defensive lines, like 5-1-5 even, which they don't do very much against other teams. They didn't do any of that against the Vikings last week. It'll be really interesting to see how they match 12 personnel, because they matched it with nickel last week. Like, the Eagles play a lot of 12 personnel, obviously. Will they match it with base like they did in week 14, or are they like this new team that's going to play it differently? I think that stuff's interesting. And then on the other side of the ball, Eagles played 16 snaps of 5-1-5 and almost no base against.
I was just going to ask you about this. Go ahead.
Yeah, 3 snaps of base in the whole game. So in terms of like Reed Blankenship, like he's going to be out there the whole time. You know what I mean? Like Chauncey's probably going to be playing nickel pretty much the whole game.
But they played very little 5-1-5, if at all, in week 18, right?
Yes, but the Giants were playing like weird 12 personnel the whole game in that game, because they didn't really want to play their wide receiver. So they had a very different approach because it was all the bench players. Daniel Jones had 2 scrambles for 8 yards in that game. He got away on one zone read keeper.
It was a 4th and 5. He got 6 yards.
Yeah, that might be right. But like that's it, right? Like and the the rushing in that game, like Josh Sweat was talking earlier this week about, against that team, there are certain play calls where you can't even try certain rushes. And you could tell just watching that game that they weren't rushing inside like the edges ever. Like, and the Vikings last week, I don't know what they were doing. Like, they were just sitting back in cover 4, 3 underneath defenders, and the edges kept trying to rush inside. And every time Jones would just take off around the side, and he got, he scrambled 1,000,000 times for 1,000,000 yards. I'm sure that's going to be an emphasis.
It was the best game in NFL history.
I mean, it was ridiculous. I don't know what the Vikings. I don't know. It was just awful. And so I think that'll be something to look forward to. Like, do the Eagles do the 5-man lines, kind of like keep Jones contained and all that? Zach talked about Eagles being good in man coverage. That's not going to happen. They played 1 snap of man coverage in the first half in week 14 against this team. Like 3 or 4 total in the game. So it's going to be a lot of, I don't know. They were doing a lot of like starting out in, too high and then rotating down and playing cover 3. I think it's going to be a lot of that. Take away the flats. Like the Giants killed the Vikings last week it was curl flat over and over again, like short stuff. And I think it'll be interesting to see what that looks like against Gannon and how aggressive he'll be and all that kind of stuff. So,
all right,
that's it.
Marissa, would you like to give a prediction?
I hope it's a good game, and don't tell my Giant. I have some of my cousins are Giants fans, some are Eagles fans. So I will try not to upset them, but for the sake of the pod, I am just hoping that the Eagles win and we can keep this fun time going.
You just want to, because otherwise you can't win Swooper. I guess
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
win this week and then they lose and then we'd have a Super Bowl one. Yeah, that's possible.
Yes. So don't tell my Giants fans cousins, but I want the pod to keep rolling. And yeah, thanks to Deniz for coming on again because we always love having him here.
That's right.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And it's awesome, Marissa, that you want to win Swooper so badly that you want to do daily pods next week.
Yeah. I will do whatever extra work I got to do because I'm competitive and got to beat Bo. So
that's right, but not going to happen. I said at the beginning, I think the Eagles are going to semi-roll here. I think the Giants are being a little bit, and I get in trouble when I'm basing my prediction on what I think of the other team that I don't actually follow that closely. But I think the Giants are getting a little gassed up here after beating a mediocre Vikings team. Even if they are a different team than they were in Week 14, the matchups everywhere are in the Eagles' favor. I think the Eagles should be able to dominate both lines of scrimmage, and barring wonky turnovers or Jalen Hurts just really being not the same guy, I find it hard to believe that they're not going to be able to win this game fairly handily. And so I think they will do that. I think that Daniel Jones is going to have a couple turnovers. Eagles will be able to settle in and run the ball in the second half after jumping out to a lead. And the final score is Eagles 31, Giants 17.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Well, we will be back. God knows what time. Sunday morning following the Saturday night game. Poor Marissa. So everybody hope that she gets a good sleep tonight in preparation. And that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. Good luck to everybody watching. I hope that none of you get stuck in a position where you have to tone down your fandom because you're watching in mixed company. I hope you're all able to have the watching and viewing experiences that you desire for a game of this importance. As Dana has said, this is what it's all about. The whole season's been about this, leading to this. You fight for that number one seed so you can have the advantages. You've got the advantages now. Go take care of business. So we'll be back to talk about what happened, whether the Eagles did take care of business after the game, and enjoy the Andy Reid, Doug Pearson matchup as a little hors d'oeuvre for you. So for Zach, for Matt, for Marissa, and Deniz, we thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later. And as always, we love you.